What if your loneliness isn't a punishment, but a preparation? What if the pain you've been hiding is the very tool God is using to shape your purpose? This is the story of the chosen, not the celebrated, but the set apart, and the sacred process that transforms isolation into destiny. There's something deeply misunderstood about being called, about being chosen. People often admire the idea from the outside, but they don't realize the invisible weight that comes with it. When you are set apart for a purpose greater than yourself, you carry a burden that most will never know. You walk a path few can even comprehend. The chosen ones, those marked by God for something higher, don't walk the well-lit roads where crowds gather and applause is loud. No, they tread the quiet, narrow paths. Paths that often lead through shadows and solitude. And because of that, they often walk alone. When God calls you, He doesn't place you in the middle of comfort. He doesn't let you hide in the background, blending in with the noise of the world. He pulls you aside. He isolates you. He sets you apart. And that separation, though divine, can feel like abandonment. It can feel like being exiled, like you're standing in the middle of a room full of people yet somehow feeling completely unseen. It can feel like rejection, confusion, or even failure. You start to wonder, why don't I belong anywhere? But let me whisper something to your heart. You were never meant to belong in the place you were called to lead. To be chosen is to carry a weight few can understand. It means your spirit is tuned to a frequency others can't hear. It means you see things differently, more clearly, more intensely. You feel a fire inside, a vision pulling you forward, and no matter how hard you try to explain it, most people just won't get it. You'll try to take them with you. You'll try to include them in the dream, but they won't follow. They won't see what you see. And that's where the pain begins, because the calling doesn't just separate you from the world. It often creates distance between you and the people you love most. Some of you know exactly what I'm talking about. You've been there, sitting at the table with your family, laughing on the surface, but hollow inside, surrounded by friends, yet still feeling like a stranger. Not because you're broken, but because deep down, you know you're built for something different. But listen closely. That feeling, that ache in your soul, it's not a mistake. That loneliness you feel, it's not a punishment. It's a divine sign that God is doing something in you that He's not doing in everyone else. When you are chosen, you can't think like the world. You can't move like the world. You can't chase comfort and approval like the world. That's why you don't fit in. That's why you feel out of place, not because something is wrong with you, but because something is right about you. God placed something sacred inside of you. And to protect it, He had to separate you. Because what He's building in you, it demands focus. It demands discipline. It demands that you release your need to be understood. It demands that you let go. Throughout history, the pattern is clear. The chosen are always isolated before they're elevated. Look at Moses, raised in Pharaoh's house, yet never fully belonging there. Called to lead, yet first rejected. Look at Joseph, blessed with a dream, but betrayed and sold by his own brothers. Look at David, anointed as king, but left in the fields again and again. Before destiny comes, isolation arrives. And in that isolation, you will be broken. You will be humbled. You will be brought to your knees. But that breaking, it's not the end. It's the beginning. It's necessary. Because before God can elevate you, He must remove everything that can't go with you. People, patterns, distractions, all stripped away in the wilderness. And yes, it hurts. I know it does. There will be nights when you cry out, God, why did you give me this weight? Moments when you whisper, maybe I'm not strong enough. But I came to remind you, you are. You were made for this. You were chosen for this. And if God called you to it, He will carry you through it. Loneliness is not your ending, it's your refining. It's the sacred space where purpose is purified and calling is clarified. That wilderness we just walked through, it wasn't meant to destroy you. It was meant to prepare you. Because it's in the silence that God speaks the loudest. It's in the solitude that He shapes you most intentionally. So don't fight it. Don't resist it. Embrace it. That season of loneliness you thought was punishment. One day, you'll look back and see it clearly. It wasn't loneliness at all. It was God, walking beside you, whispering in the quiet, molding your heart, fortifying your spirit, preparing you for the very thing you've been called to do. And when that moment comes, when God finally says, "Now is the time," you'll understand. You'll realize every tear, every silent night, every closed door had a purpose. You will be ready. But before that day comes, there's something else you must face: rejection. Rejection has a way of cutting deeper than we expect. It doesn't just sting your emotions, it shakes your confidence. It makes you question your worth, your identity, your very calling. You step out in faith, wide-eyed and hopeful, believing others will recognize the fire in your soul. You think they'll see what God placed in you, that they'll celebrate it, support it. But instead, they walk away. They dismiss you. They turn their backs like you were never enough. And that pain? It's not surface level. It reaches into your spirit, shaking the very core of who you thought you were. But hear me clearly, rejection is not a punishment. It is preparation. It's not God telling you that you're not enough. It's Him setting you apart for something greater. But too often, we take rejection personally. We see it as proof that we've failed, that we're not wanted, that we're not worthy. And yet, what if rejection is God's way of redirecting you? Of protecting you from what looks good but isn't aligned with your purpose? Think of Joseph. His very own brothers turned on him, threw him into a pit, sold him like a stranger, all while he was holding on to God-given dreams and visions. But before those dreams could come true, Joseph had to pass through the fire of rejection. If his brothers had welcomed him, he would have stayed in a place that was too small for his destiny. It was their rejection that pushed him into position for elevation, into Egypt, into Pharaoh's courts, into the exact place God had already prepared for him. Sometimes, the very people you expect to support you will be the ones who push you away. They won't see what you see. They won't feel what you feel. And in that moment, you'll be tempted to shrink. You'll think about dimming your light, lowering your calling, just to be accepted. But God didn't call you to blend in. He called you to stand out. He called you to rise when others bow down. He called you to endure what others avoid. So when rejection comes, don't fear it. Embrace it. Don't waste your energy chasing after people who didn't recognize your worth. Don't sit in despair staring at doors that God Himself closed. If the door's shut, it's because it was never meant to open. God has something better, something higher. You just can't see it yet. And yes, I know, it's hard. Some of you are still carrying the scars of rejection. You're still reliving the words that wounded you. Still aching from the absence of the people who walked away. Still letting their opinion shape how you see yourself. But listen carefully. Your worth is not defined by who left you. Your destiny isn't canceled just because someone couldn't see it. If God called you, that alone is your confirmation. If He chose you, nothing, not silence, not rejection, not even betrayal, can stop what He has planned. You have to shift your perspective. What if every rejection wasn't a loss, but a sign? A signal that God is moving, closing the wrong doors, removing the wrong people, rearranging your path. Because when you finally step into your purpose, into the space God designed just for you, you won't be alone. You'll be standing with the right people, in the right place, at the right time. Even Jesus, yes, even him, was rejected. He was mocked, misunderstood, and despised by the very people he came to love and save. And yet, even Jesus, the Son of God, pure and blameless, was rejected. He was mocked, betrayed, and abandoned by those he came to save. And yet, he never let their rejection stop him. He never wavered from his purpose. So if he, in all his perfection, had to endure rejection, why do we think we'll be embraced? Why do we assume that being chosen means being celebrated? The truth is this: the greater the calling, the deeper the rejection. The higher the purpose, the lonelier the path. But don't let that scare you. Let it wake you up. Because rejection is not the end of your story. It's a vital chapter in your preparation. Every time you face it, it's shaping you. Every door that closes is refining you. Every time someone walks away, you're being made stronger, more focused, more aligned with the person God is calling you to become. And one day, yes, one day soon, you'll look back and realize it wasn't rejection at all. It was God's redirection. It was Him saying, "I have something better." You'll see that His hand was in it the whole time, guiding you, shielding you, pruning you for something greater than your eyes could ever see. So the next time rejection knocks at your door, don't let it steal your joy. Don't lower your head. Don't beg for acceptance. Stand tall, lift your chin, and remember, you were never meant to fit in. You were chosen to stand out. And God is using every no, every silence, every setback to push you towards your purpose. There comes a moment in life when you realize a profound truth. Before God elevates you, He allows you to be broken. Not the kind of breaking that destroys. No. It's the breaking that strips away the unnecessary. That removes every piece of pride, every ounce of bitterness, every dependency that doesn't belong in your next season. It's the breaking that humbles you and purifies your spirit. Because God never promotes without preparation, and preparation always comes with pain. Many people assume that being chosen means walking an easy road, a path free of struggle, smooth and blessed at every turn. But if you look at anyone God has ever used, truly used, you'll see a pattern. Before the elevation comes the isolation. Before the breakthrough comes the heartbreak. Before the crown comes the crushing. And in that crushing season, it feels like your world is unraveling. The very ground you stood on begins to shake. Everything that once felt stable begins to slip through your fingers. And in your confusion, you ask, "God, why? Why me? Why now? I've only tried to follow you." But that's exactly the point. Being chosen means being refined. It means going through what others never will, because you're being prepared for what others will never carry. When God places a high calling on your life, He cannot let you walk into it unprepared. He won't risk you stepping into greatness while holding on to pride, bitterness, unforgiveness, or human crutches. So He breaks you, not to destroy, but to rebuild. He strips away who you were so He can reveal who you were always meant to become. Think of David. He was anointed to be king while still a young man. God had chosen him. But the crown didn't come overnight. No, he had to run for his life, hide in caves, be betrayed by those he once fought for. The anointing was there, but the process had to come first. And that process, it was painful. Many of you reading this, you're in that process right now. You're in the middle of the breaking, and it hurts. You look around and wonder why the doors are slamming shut, why the relationships you prayed for are falling apart, why everything you thought you were building seems to be crumbling, and your heart whispers, "God, why me? Why this? Why now?" But the answer, as hard as it is simple, because He's making you into who you were always meant to be. Gold is purified in fire. Diamonds are formed under pressure. Olive oil only flows when the olive is crushed. And you, what God has placed inside of you, the vision, the dream, the strength, the purpose, it can only be drawn out through the breaking. Not when things are easy, not when life is smooth, but when you're on your knees, when you have nothing left but Him, when every earthly support is gone and all that remains is God. That is where the transformation begins. When you've been broken, stripped, and left with nothing but your faith, that's when something powerful happens. That's when all you have left to hold on to is His Word. And that Word becomes your anchor. You may not understand the pain right now. You may not see the purpose in the breaking today. But one day, you'll look back with clarity, and you'll thank Him, yes, even for the tears. One day, the heartbreak, the losses, the long nights of wondering why will all make sense. You'll see that what you thought was rejection was really God's protection. That the suffering wasn't punishment, it was preparation. And what looked like the end, it was only the beginning. The beginning of the version of you that God had always been molding, stronger, wiser, and ready. So don't rush the process. Don't try to fast forward to the pain. Let Him finish what He started in you. Let Him peel away what no longer serves your future. Let Him silence the distractions, untangle the attachments, and remove whatever is keeping you from stepping fully into the life He designed just for you. Yes, it will hurt. Yes, at times it will feel unfair. But when He's finished, you'll be unshakable. You'll walk into your calling with a quiet strength no one can take from you. Because when God elevates you, He makes sure you are truly ready. And here's the thing, when God sets you apart, He doesn't always do it with fireworks or applause. He doesn't put a spotlight on you or announce it with miracles that make everyone stop and stare. No, often, He does something far more subtle, far more powerful. He makes you different. And for a long time, you might not even understand why. You'll notice it in quiet ways, surrounded by people, but still feeling like you're walking a different path. Opportunities will come, but something deep inside tells you, this isn't it. You'll form connections, but they don't last, or they feel out of sync. You'll ask, why don't I fit in? Why does my life feel so different? Here's the answer. Because you weren't made to blend in. You weren't designed to settle. You were never meant to fit where you don't belong. The calling on your life is ordinary. It's not common. It carries a weight most people will never feel, and a path most will never walk. So of course your journey feels different. Of course it's harder. Because what God is building through you requires a deeper process. One that not everyone will understand. And if you're not careful, you'll start to resent it. You'll see your uniqueness not as a gift, but a burden. You'll begin to think something's wrong with you, because you don't think like others, move like others, or settle like others. But hear me clearly, being different is not a curse, it's confirmation. It's proof that God's hand is on your life, that He's calling you to rise, preparing you for something greater, something sacred. And that kind of purpose, it costs. It means you'll lose people. It means you'll endure seasons of silence. It means you'll walk through doors alone, trusting that if God led you there, He'll sustain you there. It means you'll make decisions that won't make sense to others, decisions rooted in faith and backed by sacrifice. Look at Moses. He had everything, luxury, power, status, growing up in Pharaoh's palace. He could have stayed comfortable. He could have remained quiet. But something deep in his spirit told him he didn't belong there. He was called to something more. And that call led him not to the throne, but to the wilderness, to the dry places, the isolated places, the hidden places where no one applauded and only God remained. Some of you, that's exactly where you are right now. You're in the wilderness. You feel like everything familiar has been stripped away. You feel like you're walking alone. And in the silence, you wonder, did I miss it? Did I mess up? But no, beloved, you didn't miss it. This isn't punishment. It's preparation. God isn't keeping you apart to harm you. He's doing something deeper. You see, that season of separation we talked about? It's not random. It's not punishment. It's preparation. God is setting you apart, not to leave you behind, but to prepare you for something far greater than what you can see right now. He's teaching you to depend on Him, not your plans, not your strength, not your own understanding. He's teaching you to trust even when the path ahead is foggy, when there's no clarity, no confirmation, just faith. And you walk forward, not because you see what's coming, but because you believe He does. And when the time finally comes, when the doors open and the calling becomes clear, you'll look back and realize every lonely season, every hard decision, every moment you felt like the outsider, it all had purpose. None of it was wasted. Every detail was a part of God's plan, not to harm you, but to shape you. He wasn't silent. He wasn't distant. He was working, molding you, refining you, so that when the moment came to walk into your purpose, you would be ready. But here's something we often don't talk about. Being chosen puts a target on your back. From the very moment God places a calling on your life, the battle begins. And for many of us, that battle starts early. Some of you know what that feels like all too well. You've been fighting for as long as you can remember, for your peace, your purpose, your very survival. You didn't go looking for the fight. The fight came looking for you. And still you wonder, why me? Why has my life felt like a battlefield, while others seem to coast through? Why have I had to endure so much? Why the betrayal? The rejection? The losses? The pain? But listen closely. The intensity of the attack is evidence of the magnitude of the anointing. The enemy doesn't waste time on those who pose no threat. He's not after the ones without purpose. He targets those marked by God, those who have been anointed to shift atmospheres, those whose obedience can change generations. That's why it's been so hard. That's why you've survived attacks that should have broken you. That's why the pressure has been relentless, because the enemy sees what's inside of you, even when you can't. Think of Joseph. God gave him a dream, a powerful vision of who he was meant to be. But before that vision ever came to life, Joseph had to go through the pit. He was betrayed by his own brothers, sold into slavery, falsely accused, thrown into prison. His life looked like it was crumbling, but in truth, it was coming together. Every betrayal was a step toward the palace. Every setback was secretly a setup. Every injustice was part of divine alignment. Some of you, you're in that very place right now. You're in the pit. You're looking around at your life, wondering how any of this pain could possibly lead to purpose. You're exhausted, confused, maybe even angry. You keep asking God, how is this part of the plan? But what you don't see is what's happening behind the scenes. You don't realize that every battle has been training. Every storm has been strengthening you. The things that were meant to break you, God has been using them to build you. Because here's the truth, God doesn't call the untested. He doesn't place great responsibility in the hands of those who haven't been prepared. So yes, He allows the struggle. Not to crush you, but to equip you. Not to weaken you, but to develop you. If you're going to carry the weight of the calling God placed on your life, you have to be strong enough to stand. You need wisdom to discern. You need resilience to keep going when everything in you wants to quit. And that's why the enemy has come so hard for you. That's why the pressure has felt unbearable at times. Because he knows, the moment you truly step into your identity, The moment you embrace your purpose and realize the power that's been placed inside you, He's finished. He can attack, but He cannot win. He can throw roadblocks, but He cannot remove what God has ordained. So don't let the pressure. So when the pressure feels relentless and the battles seem endless, don't let it make you bitter. Don't allow the attacks to twist your perspective or cause you to doubt who you are and who God has called you to be. The battle is not a sign that you're lost. It's confirmation that you're walking in purpose. Every trial, every challenge, every mountain you've had to climb is proof that you're not ordinary. It's evidence that you've been set apart, that heaven's hand is resting firmly on your life. And here's what you need to hold on to. You will make it through. You won't just survive. You'll come out on the other side stronger, wiser, ready for everything God has promised you. So don't stop fighting. Don't stop standing. Victory isn't a possibility. It's already yours. When God places a calling on your life, He doesn't just prepare the path for you. He prepares you for the path. And that kind of preparation, it's rarely smooth. It's rarely comfortable. And it's almost never what you would have chosen for yourself. Because here's the truth. Being chosen doesn't mean everything will come easily. It doesn't mean every door will fly open without resistance. It doesn't mean you'll always be embraced, understood, or celebrated. Sometimes, being chosen means walking a lonely road. It means being rejected by the people you expected to stand beside you. It means enduring storms you never saw coming, battles you never thought you'd have to fight. And in those moments, when you're tired, isolated, discouraged, you might begin to question everything. Am I really called? You ask. If I was truly chosen, wouldn't things be easier? Wouldn't people support me? Wouldn't the doors open? Wouldn't the struggle lift? But what if I told you that the struggle is the proof? What if the breaking is where the making begins? Look at David. When the prophet anointed him as king, he was just a young shepherd, not a warrior, not a ruler. He wasn't seated on a throne. In fact, he wasn't even invited to the anointing. His own family overlooked him. He was out in the fields, forgotten. And after he was chosen, life didn't get easier. It got harder. He faced giants. He fled for his life. He hid in caves. He endured betrayal, rejection, and confusion. He was misunderstood. He was hunted. But every sleepless night, every silent prayer, every tear-stained valley was preparing him for the crown. Some of you are in that season right now. You feel forgotten, cast aside. You've been faithful, but the doors haven't opened. You've been obedient, but the journey has felt uphill. You're exhausted, and you're wondering if you have the strength to keep going. But let me remind you, just because you don't see the promise yet doesn't mean it's not on the way. Just because you're in the wilderness doesn't mean you've taken a wrong turn. God is not punishing you. He's preparing you. In the silence, He's strengthening you. In the hidden place, He's building your character. In the waiting, He's teaching you how to hold on to Him when there's nothing else left to hold. Because when the time comes, when He calls you forward, you won't just be ready. You'll be unshakable. And the truth is, not everyone will understand this process. Not everyone will see what God is doing in your life. Some will question it. Some will walk away. Some will misread your silence, misinterpret your growth. But don't let their misunderstanding undo what God has already confirmed in your spirit. Don't let their rejection make you question your identity. If they leave, let them go. If doors close, trust that they weren't meant for you. If the road gets harder, it's because the calling is higher. Because what God is building in you is far greater than anything you imagine. The chosen ones, they always carry the heaviest burdens. They face the fiercest battles, but they also walk in the greatest power, because when you've been tested, when you've walked through fire and still held on to your faith, when you've endured the valley and kept moving forward with your eyes on God, there comes a strength in you that no storm can shake, no voice can silence, no attack can destroy. So don't be discouraged by the process. Don't let the weight of the struggle cause you to lose sight of the promise. Keep walking, keep trusting, keep believing, because what God has spoken over your life, it will not return void. His word is not just hope, it's a guarantee. And when the time is right, when the preparation is complete, when the refining fire has done its work, nothing and no one in this world will be able to stop what He has ordained. So stay faithful. Stay strong. Your time is coming. Now let's talk about something most people overlook, the silence. There's something sacred about the stillness that surrounds the life of the chosen. And truthfully, not many understand it. Sometimes, not even the one who has been chosen understands it at first. You feel it before you can explain it. You wrestle with it asking, why am I so alone? Why does no one see me? Why don't I seem to fit in anywhere? And if you've ever asked those questions, hear this, you're not being punished, you're being prepared. When God marks someone for something special, He often separates them before He sends them. He hides them before He reveals them. He isolates them before He elevates them. The loneliness you feel, it's not a void. It's not abandonment. It's divine separation. A holy pause. A sacred silence. God is removing the noise, the voices, the distractions, the expectations, so He can speak directly to you. He's quieting the world around you so that you can hear His whisper in the depths of your soul. Because when you're chosen, you can't walk the wide road. You can't follow the crowd. You're not called to fit in. You're designed to stand apart. Look at Scripture. The pattern is clear. Moses was raised in the luxury of Pharaoh's palace, yet driven into the wilderness. David was anointed king in front of his brothers, then sent back to tend sheep. Even Jesus, after being publicly affirmed by heaven, didn't go straight to the people. He was led into the desert. Why? Because the wilderness is where your character is forged. It's where your identity is sealed. It's where the voice of God becomes louder than the opinions of man. If you're going to carry something great, you must be able to hear from God without needing constant confirmation from people. And that kind of clarity, that kind of spiritual maturity, is often born in silence. I know it's not easy. The nights feel long. The phone is quiet. Friends who once laughed with you now seem distant. You sit alone and wonder, did I do something wrong? But the truth is, no, you didn't. You're not broken. You're just not called to walk where they're walking. You've been pulled away, so you can be poured into. God is doing something in the dark that will shine in the light. But if He can't get your full attention in isolation, He won't be able to trust you with the influence that's coming. Sometimes, we think loneliness means something is wrong. But in truth, it might just mean that something holy is being built in us. The quiet season, that's where He rewrites your dreams, realigns your desires, redirects your steps. It's in that hidden place where He plants vision, the kind of vision too bold, too big, too different to make sense to the people around you. That's why He has to separate you first. Because if you tried to explain what He's doing, they'd talk you out of it. They'd laugh at it. They'd say it's too risky, too impossible. But here's the thing. God doesn't need a committee to approve what He's placed inside of you. He just needs your undivided attention. So don't resent the silence. Don't run from the solitude. You are not alone. You are alone with God, and there is no safer, stronger, or more sacred place to be. When the crowd walks away, when the lights go out, when the world forgets your name, heaven still remembers it. Heaven still whispers it. Heaven still calls you by purpose. You are not being overlooked. You're being overshadowed by the hand of God. And when He pulls His hand back, when He finally declares, "Now," you will step forward, not wounded by the waiting, but strengthened by it. So when God hides you, when He strips you down in silence and solitude, don't resist it. Because this is what it truly means to be chosen. It's not about standing on stages or being celebrated by people. It's about being consecrated, set apart, laid down before God in complete surrender. It's not about being lifted up by men. It's about being emptied before the Father, so He alone can fill you. So if you're in a season of separation right now, let it be. Don't rush it. Don't try to force your way out. Let God finish what He started, even if it feels quiet, hidden, and slow. Because those who are separated in secret are always sent with power in public. Some of the most powerful, Spirit-filled people you will ever meet aren't the loudest or the most visible. They're the ones who have been truly broken. Not just bruised by life, but completely shattered. Stripped of their pride. Stripped of their plans. Stripped of the very things they once thought made them strong. And in that breaking, something sacred begins to take shape. Because here's the pattern. God never uses someone greatly without first breaking them deeply. Not just with any pain, but with a fire that refines, that purifies, that burns away everything that isn't rooted in Him. A fire that reduces a person down to their core, so that God can rebuild from the foundation up, His way, not theirs. Being broken doesn't feel sacred. It doesn't feel chosen. It feels like everything's gone wrong. Like you've missed your calling. Like maybe God forgot you. But hear me clearly. The breaking is not a sign of rejection. It's a sign of investment. God breaks what He intends to use. He crushes what He wants to multiply. He wounds not to harm, but to heal deeper than the wound ever reached. This isn't punishment. It's preparation. Think of the olive. It must be crushed for the oil to flow. Think of the grain. It has to be ground to become bread. And think of Jesus. He had to be broken so that we could be made whole. Why would it be any different for us? The world says brokenness is weakness. But in the kingdom of God, brokenness is the gateway to power. What has wounded you may be the very thing God uses to shape you, humble you, and fill you with purpose. Some of you have been asking God to use you, to bless you, to elevate you. But when the breaking came, the betrayal, the loss, the door slammed in your face, you started to doubt. You thought He was ignoring you. But friend, He wasn't ignoring you. He was answering you. He was saying, "Yes, I will use you, but first, I must make you ready." He was molding you, pulling you away from everything that made you comfortable, so He could become your one true source. Because trust isn't learned on the mountaintop, it's learned in the valley. Purpose isn't found in applause, it's found in surrender. And sometimes, God has to remove every crutch, every false support, every relationship you leaned on instead of Him, so that when you fall into His arms. Not out of fear, but out of faith. You may feel shattered right now, like your life is in pieces. But God doesn't discard what's broken. He restores it. He uses it. He takes what looks like rubble and builds something eternal. And not only does He restore, He strengthens. You won't come out of this weaker. You'll come out wiser, more compassionate, more grounded, more full of purpose than ever before. Because you've been stripped of pride and clothed in grace. And something else will change, too. After you've been broken and rebuilt by God, you won't look at people the same. You won't judge so quickly. You won't speak so harshly. You'll see pain behind their smile, because you've worn that same mask. Your brokenness will make you a healer. Your wounds will become your wisdom. And then you'll see This journey was never just about you. It was about the people God has called you to reach. So don't despise the breaking. Don't curse the process. Don't run from the pain. Lean into it. Trust that God is doing something deeper than what your eyes can see. Trust that what feels like destruction is actually construction. And your tears, they're watering seeds of future glory. Because when God chooses someone, He doesn't wire them like everyone else. There's something different in the way their heart beats. You see, everything we've discussed so far, the silence, the solitude, the breaking, it all leads to this deeper truth. Those who are chosen carry weight that others simply can't see. Their hearts are a little heavier. Their minds wrestle a little deeper. They don't skim the surface of life. They stare into it. They notice what others miss. They feel what others walk past. And because of that, they often walk alone. Not because they want to, but because they're wired differently. Their spirit isn't made for shallow waters. It's drawn to the deep. It can't settle for surface-level answers or temporary pleasures. They're built for depth, for discernment, for destiny. The chosen ones, those set apart by God, carry something within them that can't be explained in ordinary language. People often label them as too intense, too serious, or too sensitive. But the truth is, they're tuned into something eternal. While others chase moments, they chase meaning. While the world craves noise, they crave stillness. They don't fit into shallow conversations, passing trends, or hollow connections. That's why they often feel like strangers in rooms full of people. Because when you're built for purpose, comfort just doesn't satisfy you. It's not easy carrying a soul that feels everything so deeply. When the world moves on quickly, they linger. When others laugh, they listen. When someone is hurting, even in silence, they sense it. That level of awareness is a gift, yes, but it can also feel like a burden. And that burden can lead to loneliness. Because not everyone wants to feel like that. Not everyone wants to dive that deep. Not everyone is ready to see what you see, or feel what you feel. So the chosen learn, often quietly, how to carry that weight. How to cry in silence. How to walk through storms with no one beside them but God. But hear me, that depth you carry, that ache you feel, that sensitivity that makes you wonder if something's wrong with you. It's not a curse. It's your calling. It's God's fingerprint on your soul. He gave you those eyes, the ones that see beneath the surface, because He needs someone who can speak to what others overlook. He gave you that heart that breaks easily, not to destroy you, but so you would stay soft in a world that's grown hard. In a generation where so many numb themselves just to survive, God gave you the courage to feel, to carry love, truth, and discernment in a way that disrupts the normal. You weren't created to blend in, because what you carry wasn't meant to be hidden. It's not a mistake, it's a mission. It's not a flaw, it's a ministry. But yes, it comes with a cost. And one of the first things it will cost you is comfort. Because the chosen don't live for applause. They don't need a crowd to validate them. They've learned that time alone with God is more powerful than 1,000 hands clapping. That's what sets them apart. They're not driven by fame. They don't crave likes. They're anchored by calling, even when nobody sees it. Even when no one claps for it. You may be asking, why does this calling feel so heavy? Why do I feel so alone when all I'm trying to do is obey? Because the higher the calling, the deeper the refining. The stronger the anointing, the lonelier the path. You weren't wired for popularity. You were wired for purpose. And that purpose, it won't always make sense to those around you. Sometimes even the people closest to you won't understand your fire. They won't see your burden. They won't hear your prayers. And that's okay, because they weren't there when God spoke to you in the stillness. They didn't see what he showed you when no one else was looking. Chosen ones often feel broken, not because they are, but because they carry weight that others ignore. They fight battles that are invisible. They hold dreams that haven't come to life yet, but still burn like wildfire in their spirit. And still, they trust. They trust even when doors close. They believe even when the nights feel endless. They keep walking, even when the way forward makes no sense. If that's you, don't give up. Don't shrink. Don't edit yourself to fit into places God never called you to stay. Embrace your depth. Embrace the way you're wired. You're not strange, you're set apart. Pain changes you, not just in how you think or speak, but in how you love, how you hope, how you walk into a room. You can see it in the eyes of those who survive silent battles. The quiet strength behind their smile. The unspoken wisdom in their presence. Because for the chosen ones, pain isn't just pain. As we've just seen, for the chosen ones, pain isn't just something they experience. It becomes part of their story. A sacred tool in the hand of God. A doorway to strength that can't be earned in comfort. A path into deeper wisdom and power, the kind most people will never fully understand. Because when you're chosen, you don't get to skip the pain. There's no shortcut through the heartbreak, the betrayal, or the disappointment. You walk through it, sometimes again and again, because every new level of growth brings a new level of pressure. And the chosen? They feel it more than most. Why? Because what they carry isn't light. It's weighty. It's sacred. It's heaven-sent. So the trials you face, they're not random. They're tailored. The suffering you endure, it's not meaningless. It's intentional. God doesn't allow it to destroy you. He allows it to define you. The breaking becomes the blessing. The wound becomes the wisdom. And even though it hurts, and let's be honest, sometimes it really hurts, something inside you knows there's purpose in it. Something holy is happening beneath the surface. God is softening your heart, even as He strengthens your spirit. He's tearing down your pride, even as He builds up your endurance. He's not trying to weaken you. He's making you dangerous to the enemy. Because once you've walked through pain and still refuse to let go of God, you become the kind of person hell can't scare anymore. You stop living for comfort and start living for purpose. You stop craving validation and start craving usefulness. You stop needing others to understand your path, because now you walk with the one who wrote it. And the pain, it becomes fuel. It pushes you to pray harder, to love deeper, to speak bolder. It teaches you to see people differently, with mercy instead of judgment. Because now you know everyone's fighting something, even if they don't show it. And your own wounds have opened the door to compassion in a way nothing else could. And here's the powerful part. When you stop running from the pain and start learning from it. When you invite God to walk through it with you. He redeems it. He uses it. He doesn't waste a single ounce of it. You become someone who can sit with others in their darkest hour and not flinch. You become the one who speaks peace into chaos, not because you read about it, but because you lived through it. You bled through it. You cried through it. And still, you're standing. But here's the difference with the chosen. They don't just carry pain, they rise from it. They know sorrow may last for the night, but joy always comes in the morning. Not because the world got easier, but because they got stronger. Not because people changed, but because God changed them. The pain didn't harden them, it humbled them. And in the kingdom of God, humility is power. Some of the strongest people you'll ever meet, they're not the loudest. They're not trying to impress. They're not perfect, but they carry something sacred. You can hear it in their prayers. You can see it in their presence. You can feel it in the way they care. They've walked through fire. but they don't smell like smoke. They shine with purpose. So if you're walking through pain right now and wondering why it hurts so much, remember this. God doesn't waste pain. Not a single tear. Not a single sleepless night. Not a single broken moment will be lost. What nearly destroyed you will become the very thing God uses to build others up. You're not just going through this. You're growing through it. And one day, your scars will speak louder than your words. The pain didn't break you. It built you. And now, we shift into one more misunderstood realm: isolation. Because there's something about solitude the world fears. Most people run from it. They fill it with noise. They avoid it at all costs. But the chosen? They don't just stumble into isolation. They are called into it. As we explored before, pain has a purpose. And often that purpose leads us straight into something most people fear: isolation. But if you look closely at Scripture, you'll see a divine pattern, repeated again and again. Before David ever wore a crown, he spent years alone with sheep. Before Joseph ever sat in a palace, he sat in a prison, rejected, forgotten. Before Moses led a nation out of bondage, he wandered in a desert for decades. Even Jesus, before speaking to thousands, was led by the Spirit, not to the crowds, but to the wilderness. Alone. Why? Because sometimes, in order to be set apart, you first have to be set aside. And in that sacred space of isolation, away from the noise, away from the crowds, something holy begins to happen. God begins to whisper things into your soul that cannot be heard in the clamor of popularity or the buzz of constant company. But make no mistake, that kind of isolation is not empty. It is full. Full of revelation. Full of refining. Full of clarity. God doesn't pull you away to punish you. He isolates you to prepare you. He removes you from the noise so he can speak clearly. Because before you stand before people, you've got to kneel before him. Before you pour out, he must first pour into you. And the only way you'll hear his voice clearly is when the others fade. That's why chosen ones often find themselves in seasons where no one checks in. No one understands. No one stands beside them. But don't confuse silence with absence. Just because you're alone doesn't mean you've been abandoned. God has a way of stripping you down in the wilderness, not to break you, but to free you. To free you from the need for human approval. To free you from depending on false identities. To free you from anything and anyone that would compete with him for your heart. In that solitude, he removes every crutch, so that when you rise, your strength comes only from him. And when you come out of that place, you're not just stronger, you're sure. Sure of who you are. Not because the world affirmed you, but because God revealed you. That's the kind of confidence isolation builds. The kind that doesn't need applause to feel valuable. The kind that doesn't need validation to remain faithful. The kind that doesn't need company to stay called. And that kind of solitude, it is sacred. Because when you walk with God in the dark, you learn to trust him in ways the light could never teach you. You stop questioning the plan and start trusting the process. You stop begging for answers and start leaning into obedience. You begin to see that God doesn't always give vision in the spotlight. Sometimes he gives it in the shadows. He reveals it in the stillness. He confirms it in the quiet. Some of you are in that very place right now. You feel hidden, overlooked, maybe even forgotten. But I want to remind you, you are not buried, you are planted. Something is growing in you that the world cannot see. Roots are forming. Strength is building. Vision is sharpening. And identity is being forged. You're not stuck, you're being shaped. And when the time is right, God will bring you forth, not as who you used to be, but as who you were always meant to be. So don't despise the quiet seasons. Don't rush the isolation. That's where the oil is made. That's where power is cultivated. That's where the noise of the world is stripped away. And the voice of God becomes the loudest sound in your soul. You may feel alone, but you are not empty. You are full of potential, full of promise, full of divine purpose. And when the world finally sees you again, they won't recognize you. Not because your outer appearance changed, but because something on the inside has been completely transformed. Chosen ones walk through isolation, not because they are forgotten, but because they are being formed. Everything you've walked through, the pain, the silence, the isolation, has not been in vain. God has been forming something in you that no platform, no applause, no recognition could ever produce. You didn't just survive the wilderness. You were transformed in it. You didn't just wait in the shadows. You were being refined there, molded by the hand of the Master. And now the time is coming, or maybe for some of you, it's already here, when the hidden becomes revealed, when the roots give rise to fruit, when the world sees what God has been preparing behind the scenes. But here's what sets the chosen apart. They don't come out of hiding seeking attention. They come out carrying assignment. They don't return looking to be seen. They return ready to serve, because they've learned something sacred in the dark. That it was never about being known, it was always about being faithful. That the real reward was never a stage, it was His presence. So now, when you step forward, you won't need permission. You won't seek confirmation, because you'll know, deep in your bones, that you were called by the only one who matters. And when people see you again, they won't understand where this strength came from. They'll wonder where your fire was born, where your wisdom was shaped, where your peace was forged. But you'll know. You'll know it came from the nights you cried out to God when no one else saw. You'll know it came from the caves, the valleys, the wilderness seasons where you learned to walk by faith and not by sight. You'll know it came from the breaking and the rebuilding, the crushing and the calling, because those who are truly chosen, they don't rise for applause, they rise for purpose. So if you're still in the waiting, the pressing, the stretching, don't rush it. Let God finish what He started, because the world doesn't need another voice that echoes. It needs a voice that's been refined by fire, a voice that carries truth, love, and authority, the kind that only comes from the secret place. You are that voice. You are that vessel. You are that chosen one. And when God says, now, you won't just step into your destiny. You'll run with it. Let them wonder where you came from. Let them ask how you endured. Let your life be the answer. You've been hidden long enough. Now it's time. Step forward. The world is waiting. And you are ready.